we are going to discuss how to deal with the guilt that some teachers experience when they leave the teaching profession. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Cindy Lumpkin. I happen to be a special education teacher who quit a couple of years ago when it was not as popular. In fact, I actually started my own small school, and I have been doing that successfully for the last 8 years. Today, we are going to discuss something that is not often talked about in and among the teacher circle. That's right. Today, we are going to discuss how to deal with the guilt that some teachers experience when they leave. Now, before I jump into my list, let me start out by saying I am not advocating for teachers to leave the teaching profession. I am also not advocating for teachers to stay in situations where it does not serve them, okay? Unfortunately, sometimes I think the teacher-school relationship has become equivalent to a relationship, right? I believe in the sanctity of marriage. However, anytime it does not serve, particularly when abuse is involved, I don't agree with a partner staying, right? So I feel the same way about teaching. It is such a serious career, right? And we don't take it lightly. I hate the fact of so many teachers who are just outright leaving the profession, but I want to make it clear that I'm not for teachers leaving, but I am also not for teachers staying in situations that do not serve them. All right, number one, I would say first and foremost, there should be no guilt. Honestly, there should be no emotional guilt attached with your decision to leave. And the reason I say that is because you took on a job that agreed to pay you for a series of tasks that you do, right? And I trust that if you're watching this video, that you did that honestly and to the best of your ability. And when you gave your resignation, you stopped your work, they stopped their pay. And therefore, and because you showed up and you delivered, once you decided that it no longer serves you, there should be no guilt, right? Now, we know that is easier said than done. So, number two, you should not feel guilt because you put your mental health or your physical health above the act of teaching. That is so important. So often teachers do. They think about everybody else before they think about themselves. And the reality of it is, if you're not healthy, whether it's physically or whether it is mentally, then you're not really showing up for those kids that you actually show up for every day. So you are more important than the job and the title. And that should not be a reflection on your character, because if you're not well, then you cannot do the job that you have been hired to do at the level that you are capable of. So when kind of internalizing this, you have to ask yourself, are you still fit for the job? And if the answer is no, because physically you're not healthy or mentally you're not healthy, then you should be able to walk away with a clean slate, knowing that you gave it your all. You should not feel guilty in this circumstance. Number three, you have to put your family first. That is your biggest obligation, is to put your family first. We know that we show up for kids all the time, but you also have kids at home. You also have husbands or significant others at home, and your obligation to them should trump anything else outside of your household. So if your reasons for teaching is connected to your family, do not feel guilty, because your first obligation is to your family. Number 4, you are replaceable. Now, I want you to listen to this. I heard this just a couple of days ago. Even irreplaceable teachers are replaceable. Did you hear that? Even an irreplaceable teacher. So you could be the best teacher in the world and you are replaceable. Everyone is replaceable. And to be honest, if you kind of stop and think, oh, there's no one else that can do this job the way that I do this job, that's a little bit arrogant. Okay? It's a little bit arrogant thinking on your part. Because although you are an awesome teacher, although you showed up and have impacted the lives of children, you're not the only one that can do that. You are replaceable. Even though you're irreplaceable, you are replaceable. Number 5, you did a lot of good for the time that you were in your student's life. You did your part. You have to believe that. You sowed seeds. Sometimes we don't get to see the whole process of a plant growing, right? But you did your part. You may have been the part of sowing the seed. Somebody else might come behind you and water the seed and see that plant grow. You might step in and do some watering, and then somebody else might come along and actually see that plant bloom. You have to believe that for the time that you were in your children's or your students' lives, you did the part that was assigned to you. And sometimes, not sometimes, that is enough. If you did your part and you did your part well, so the next person can come behind you and pick up where you left off, you did well. Number 6, whoever comes behind you will also be a professional. You have to trust that just like whatever that district did to find you, that they will find the next professional that will pick up where you left off and continue on with the work that is needed to impact the lives of our students. And they will be just as much as a professional as you. They may or may not have as much as experience as you, but you have to trust that they will be qualified to do what they need to do in order to continue to work with students. Number 7, you have to focus on what's next. If you focus on what's next, it can help you to deal with whatever feelings of guilt that you shouldn't be having, but you're having. What can you do now to show up for other people that will not cause you to sacrifice your health, whether it's physical or mental, your family? You know, I attend a church with a lot of retirees, and a lot of them mentor, and they are so rewarded by giving back to the kids in their community. And they get to do this when they want to. They get to show up how they want to. So they're still impacting lives. They may not be in the classroom every day, but they are still showing up. They are still helping people. And so just because you choose to quit as you know it, it doesn't mean that you have to stop helping people. And that's the thing. We all have to get to the point where we are able to show up for other people without sacrificing ourselves. Number 8, make a plan for your future. Like, ask yourself, what sets your heart on fire? For me, it was teaching, right? However, when I was quitting, I had to ask myself, what hurts my heart? It was teaching. No, but when I really sat down to do the work for myself, I understood that teaching set my heart on fire. It brings me so much joy to work with students, and not just any students. I like working with students who have learning differences, and I like helping them to connect the dots and see the light bulb go off, and working with a child who is not reading well and then seeing them just flow right on through a passage. That sets my heart on fire. And what I realized though it didn't set it on fire when I was in a certain setting teaching, because I wasn't able to do what I knew needed to be done to be able to experience a child who couldn't read flowing through a passage, right? It took me taking myself out of a particular environment and creating an environment where I focused on what was needed, how it was needed. And then I started seeing such tremendous growth with the students that I work with. And so for me, I realized that although I left teaching, like teaching was still for me. Like there's no other job, I guess, no other career change right now that I want. Like I love teaching. And I also like the fact of being like this little business person. It's taken me a little bit longer to add that title, or to see myself as a business person, because I've always thought of myself as a teacher. But I also realized that so many skills that I have as a teacher were actually transferable to me actually starting this organization, this business, and creating my own environment where I could continue to do what set my heart on fire. So that is the big question for you. If you are leaving teaching, or if you have left teaching, what sets your heart on fire? Okay, guys, that is all for part 1. Please make sure to check back on Monday for part 2. And here's the question. Do you have any ways or anything that teachers can do to deal with the guilt that is sometimes associated when they leave the teaching profession? If you do, please put it in the comments below and I might include it in my next video.